All right, now for kind of the funner part. Now we're going to do some award predictions. Who's going to win such. If you want, I don't know why I closed my phone. There we go. All right. I'll go. I'll go first. I'll throw it to you. So MVP, I think we both are. Okay, I'm gonna go Patrick Mahomes, but in consideration, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, heck, even Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford could. I'm not sure what the odds are, but it's not. I don't bet, and it's not legal in Texas. But if I were to bet, and I put a little money on Matthew Stafford, maybe a $10 depending on the odds. Maybe who knows. So those are my main four. But obviously, I think Mahomes is the favorite, and that's who I'm going with. So, what about yourself, John?
It's tough to bet against Patrick Mahomes, but I'm taking your boy Josh Allen. He's gonna win the
He almost
MVP.
did last year too, so not
Bills
bad.
fans are gonna be jumping on
Oh my
tables
god, I
for
love that.
weeks.
I gotta find the video. There's one where like the dude like jumped and it looked like I think I'm pretty sure he died. He like jumped off a bridge and like fell and like hit like his head first.
They're gonna go donate to every charity possible because Bills fans do that kind of stuff, and it's awesome. Josh Allen's gonna win MVP this year. I think he could throw even more touchdowns than he did last year. I think he could break
There's an
40.
extra game.
There's an extra game. So, I mean, I think he could have 40 something passing touchdowns. I think he could rush for another 8 like he did last year, maybe more because they still don't have an amazing run game, and Josh Allen's kind of the best option. So, I'm taking Josh Allen to win MVP.
Nice. I would I hope you're right. I personally
I
hope
hope
you're
I
right.
am too because I got Stephon Diggs in one of my money leagues, and that'd be great because that means Diggs is probably cooking.
Yeah, all right. So defensive player of the year. Once again, don't mean to be kind of chalky, but going with Aaron Donald. Especially now this offense will be better too. I think teams will have to pass a little more and against the Rams, and maybe behind more too, and that just leads to Aaron Donald. And I'm forget too. I think did he win last year? Oh, TJ won
Yep.
last year, I think. Or no,
No,
regardless,
he
last
won.
year too. End of the year, it hurt too. So and he still and has an extra game. So I imagine I wouldn't be shocked if he breaks the sack record, single season sack record. So going Aaron Donald there. Sure, other guys, TJ Watt, but we don't know what his contract. He's in consideration. Everyone knows I like Chase Young. But yeah, going with Aaron Donald. Sorry if that's not, a surprising or sexy pick, but it's the smart pick. What about you, John?
I'm going against the grain again.
Okay.
I'm taking Myles Garrett to win Defensive Player of
He
the
was a
Year.
thought in my head too. He was a thought in my head too.
I have the Browns being the second seed, and I think if that's the case, it's got to be off some. I have the Rams being the second seed too, so I mean, there's that. But that's more so. But the addition of Matthew Stafford and what the offense can do, I think Aaron Donald still does Aaron Donald things. But I think that if the Browns are going to be that high in my mind, I gotta believe that Myles Garrett's going to dominate. I think the addition of Jadeveon Clowney is going to just free up Donald from not being double teamed every time. I still think he will be double teamed because they'd rather let Clowney go one on one than Myles Garrett. But I still think that having a I would say an upgrade at the opposite defensive end spot like Clowney, who's really athletic too,
Or Tack McKinley if Clowney's out because we know injuries have been an issue.
Yep, and Tack McKinley. I think their improved secondary gives him more time to get to the quarterback with John Johnson, Grant Delpit coming back from injury, Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams maybe could do something this year. Troy Hill. I like what they're doing over there, and I think that Myles Garrett. I'm going to take him to win Defensive Player of the Year. I think he could have a 17, 18 sack kind of a season.
Alrighty, so Coach of the Year, I am going with Matt Rule. Gets the Panthers in the playoffs. I think that will help. Once the fact that he's turned the team around so quickly, in year two, after really losing a lot of pieces. That's what I have for Coach of the Year. It is tough. Coach of the Year is always really tough because sometimes there's narratives. I mean, Ron Rivera could be in there because of how high I have Washington, but going with Matt Rule for Coach of the Year.
Who won it last year?
I'll look it up.
I don't know who won it last year.
Let me mute myself while I do that.
Maybe it was Bruce Arians or Mike Tomlin. Anyway, Coach of the Year. This is a tough one. It typically goes
Kevin
sorry,
Stefanski.
Kevin
Forget?
Stefanski.
You got the Browns in the
Okay.
playoffs, the promised land. They've been waiting
I
for
almost
so
said
many
him.
years.
but for some reason I thought it wasn't gonna be him. Coach of the year is a little weird because unlike the NBA feels like it's kind of whoever's the
Yeah,
best like
the
regular
best
season
team.
team. The NFL, it's kind of like who exceeded expectations a lot, which is I think why you got Matt Rule there. Part of me thinks like maybe this could be a year where everyone thinks the Texans suck and then they win like 7 games and David Culley wins it, like something crazy like that. But I don't think that'll happen. Man, coach of the year. I'm gonna look at my playoff teams real quick before I answer, so that I don't
mind the thunder.
leave off
Sorry
any
if
obvious
if
choices.
you can hear the thunder in the podcast or video or stream. I apologize. It's just you can't. Mother Nature does her own thing.
Coach of the year. I'm gonna say Brandon Staley for the Chargers.
Oh, because you have them making the playoffs. Okay.
I have them making the playoffs, sort of similar to your thoughts on Matt Rule, but I think when you're a year one coach and you can get your team to the playoffs, I think that carries a lot of weight. Sort of like Stefanski last year. Just been a long time since the Browns were there. It hasn't been as long since the Chargers were, but I think the Chargers could have a really solid year. And I'm going to go Brandon Staley.
Yeah.
The less fun picks would just be like a typical Andy Reid or something like that, but I'm gonna go.
I mean,
Staley.
Bill Belichick really wins it. So I mean, it's like what John said is true. You know, I mean, it's for the NFL. It's just like did you exceed expectations? And yeah, so I like the Chargers. Hopefully they are as good as you obviously are predicting for them to be. Because we were both pro Herbert guys. I forget? I got him in our dynasty league. So locked him up. So all right. So speaking of dynasty, offensive rookie of the year. I want to ask you, who do you think I'm picking for offensive rookie of the year?
I think you're taking Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm going. My guy Zach Wilson. I don't expect it to be a pretty year record wise, but especially that defense isn't as great, so I think he's going to have to put up points and stats. And he's already looked solid in the preseason. He still has Corey Davis. I am worried about their offensive line health, but I think the fact that he already ran a pro-style system at BYU, he's looked pretty solid. I'm going with Zach Wilson, but once again, I wouldn't be shocked if maybe Justin Fields wins it, especially if he starts earlier, because he might have a better rushing numbers and maybe more efficiency, because he does have more consistent weapons, I'd say, with Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and actual running back, and Cohen, even though he's going to be gone for a few weeks, and David Montgomery. But I'm going with Zach Wilson just because I know he's starting week 1, and he's going to probably be playing the whole year. So that's my guy. Hence, we are the Headband King. What about you, John? Offensive Rookie of the Year. This is a tough one.
To me, I'm contemplating Mac Jones and Najee Harris. Mac Jones seems really safe because, first off, in the preseason, he looked amazing. I think he looked the best out of all the rookie quarterbacks, and I think his processing speed was the most impressive part. He dissected the play really quick, and then just made a decision and did it, and it worked. And so I think that could really bode well for him in the league. I think they have a good defense. I think they have a solid run game. I think it's a friendly year for Mac Jones compared to a lot of the other rookie quarterbacks where it's just not as solid around them. But I think I'm going to go with Najee Harris.
Okay.
I think there's just such guaranteed volume for him. They're going to throw to him a lot. They're going to run him a lot. I think that Big Ben's not going to have an amazing year, not a bad year, but not an amazing year. And so I think that they're going to lean on Najee a lot. And it's just hard not to pick a running back if the guy is, I think he's a shoo-in for over 1,000 yards, could have a pretty good workload in the receiving game. It's hard not to pick that kind of guy unless he struggles with fumbles. Because all these rookie quarterbacks, right, their interception numbers kind of really get focused on a ton when it comes to awards, to where running backs, you don't really have as many things that can be that obviously like they were bad because of X stat. So I'm going to take Najee Harris, although I think Mac Jones, Zach Wilson feel like 2 safe bets because they're starting right away. Trevor Lawrence, I don't know, I'm not a big believer in Jacksonville this year, so I'm not going to pick
him. I felt the same way. It's not, once I think like John was saying, it's not on Trevor Lawrence, just more like we don't know what kind of offense Urban Myers is going to have, how successful it will be, and it could be a growing period for both of them. And then I'm trying, not many other offensive players jump to mind. Offensive rookie of the year is tough too because sometimes there's a random guy that pops up. So
Yeah, like
and
Justin Jefferson blew up last year. Like
yeah,
it wasn't.
yeah,
Everyone didn't really fully expect that.
yeah, and he almost. I think Herbert ended up winning it, right?
Yeah, I think Herbert.
It was
did.
very close. But all right. So not last but not least, one more after this one, offensive or defensive rookie of the year. Kind of another tough one to pick. And I don't mean to curse your team, but I'm going with Micah Parsons. He just looked too good in the preseason, and I haven't even watched Hard Knocks. So someone tries to tell me I'm buying that Gatorade, I don't have HBO Max, so I haven't seen that. But going with Micah Parsons, he's just popped all over the preseason. I mean, I've heard rave reviews. I mean, coming to the draft, he was like a lock at the best linebacker, and we saw that. Only other guys I think could potentially win. They'd be in the conversation. My guy Caleb Farley could sneak in there. Patrick Surtain if the Broncos take the step up, and then the other two linebackers, Zaven Collins and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, especially if the Browns have the season that you believe they can. I think he'll have to be an instrumental part of that, and I think he could be easily his rookie year. So I feel like were there many edge rushers? I'm like blanking on the edge rushers.
Kwity Paye looked really good in
forgot.
preseason.
He definitely looked. I think he was like rated the best pass rusher by PFF. Not that I'm saying that's holy or everything, but he did pop. I will say on film before I even saw that. So Kwity Paye could also be one. I like Jalen Phillips. Just last note, but Miami runs the New England system. They always don't. They ask their guys to do a lot of different things as opposed to Kwity Paye, where it's like, hey, line up on the edge, go get the quarterback. New England's like, hey, we just want you to hold this gap, and so they don't care about sacks. In the New England system.
Also, Miami doesn't have a DeForest Buckner to take all the attention away from your edge.
They have a few guys, but yeah, I know what you mean. No one of
no one of that magnitude.
Yeah, they have like Raekwon McMillan. Yeah, I think so. I think who was their first round pick a couple of years ago? Not Dexter Lawrence. It was the other Clemson kid, Christian Wilkins, I think.
Yeah,
Christian Wilkins.
They do have some solid talent there, but anyway. I'm also taking Micah Parsons. I think it's really easy to stand out on a bad defense, and Micah Parsons has looked as advertised. He's looked like the best linebacker. He was graded the best run block or the best run defender through preseason. It was limited snap count, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think that just shows that he is ready for an NFL level, play. And corner's hard. Hard to win awards at,
And sometimes because it takes a couple years to really find your footing. It's like corner's kind of like tight end, and it really kind of like tight end, where it takes a few years for you to really pop and people to notice you.
Yeah, it's hard to be like a rookie corner and really show out. Like I think the last one that comes to mind is Jalen Ramsey.
But even then, he didn't get that much love and attention until year two. When it was year two when they really popped off and went to I think it was year 2. Yeah, so.
Just so many good corners in the league. Like Stephon Gilmore, no one really felt like he was that
on
level
Buffalo
into New England
for 4 years, and then he signed with New. And even the first year in New England, he struggled. And the second year is when he really burst onto the scene.
Yeah, Jair took a year. Tre'Davious White took a year. Like a lot of these guys, it just takes them a bit to.
Xavier, it took him a year or two to really.
Yeah,
pop.
Xavier Howard. Bit. Byron Jones had to switch from safety all the way to corner and then get in the right scheme, and then he popped. So it takes a little bit for corners. So I'm not going to put anything on them. Also, a lot of their they don't have stats, right? Like a lot of their best plays, nothing gets recorded except for they weren't targeted. So I think it's just easier for a linebacker to get stats. Like I said, it's
tackles, sacks, forced fumbles, maybe a pick or two.
Yeah, it's easier to pop on a bad defense too, which is why I think I'd give him the edge over like Owusu-Koramoah or Zaven Collins or somebody like that, because they're more sound defensive units to where like if the Cowboys are mediocre at best but below mediocre, like somewhere in that range, if he is the best player, on the field defensively, like he's going to stand out that much more. So yeah, who do you know who won Defensive Rookie of the Year last year?
Oh, we'll look it up.
Was it? I think it was Chase Young. I totally blanked on that. I'm pretty sure it was just Chase Young. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna take Micah Parsons as well. He's looked really good. Chase Young.
Yeah, it was Chase Young. So
yeah, so not anything surprising.
And deserving. So yeah. All right. So last one here. This is kind of a fun one. I always like to throw out because I always like to think it. But who do you think will be the worst team in the league? Worst record in the league?
Well, before you do that, who do you think is going to be comeback player of the year?
That's always tough, man. Like I always forget who the frick's injured.
There's Joe Burrow.
I don't think
There's
Joe
Dak
Burrow, just
Prescott.
because he hasn't looked fully healthy. Dak could
Odell could be. Saquon Barkley could be. I don't know if there's any major defensive guys I'm forgetting.
You're fine. Just based on those, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is because I did draft him in one of my leagues, and I'm pretty confident. But I'm gonna go with Odell. I just like this, and this is kind of it. I feel like for Odell and the Browns, like, hey, like, you know, if Grancy's coming off an ACL injury, so maybe, you know, this shouldn't be it. But I feel like this is a big year for him going forward, and the Browns, because otherwise, if he doesn't have the year that they expect, he's carrying a lot. He's good chunk of the cap space is going to him, and they got to re-sign Baker, like we mentioned, and they probably have to did they already re-sign Myles Garrett?
Yes.
Okay, so my apologies.
Massive deal.
So, but they have to re-sign some of these other defensive guys and their offensive line, you know, like Jedrick Wills and some of these other pieces. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if he doesn't have the year that they want him to, that he'll be traded in the offseason. So I'm going to put Odell just because I think he has the best chance. Not that Dak doesn't, but I feel like and Dak could too, now that I think about it. It's either Dak or Odell. I'm going Odell just because I want to be different, but if I had to put money on it, put Dak just because quarterbacks, in terms of awards, quarterback always has the edge because it's the most important position on the field. So
yep, and that's why I'm picking Dak. Not even a biased thing. I think it's just out of all those players, I think he has the best chance of like being top 10 statistically in his position. I think Saquon has a shot, but also like his line sucks.
If you count the 13 games he was out, I forgot. I just remembered about him because I have the number one pick finally in the league.
Ooh, that actually makes it a little tough then.
Yeah.
I think I'm still gonna go Dak just because he's a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, quarterbacks win awards.
And he's the Dallas quarterback. Let's be honest. You know what I mean?
He gets a lot of attention. They started Hard Knocks. I don't know if you even saw the opening of episode 1, but it started with the injury and it was all intense. And I think like this, it's probably gonna be Dak as long as he doesn't have a catastrophically bad year. If he's just like what he should be, then he'll win it.
All right. So, all right. Worst record. Who do you feel will have the worst record in the league? If you had.
Gosh.
It's tough. Or just it's like, I think Atlanta, just to spitball some teams, Atlanta could be there. Honestly, as much as I love the Jets and Zach Wilson, just because of the injuries, could be the Jets. So I'm being completely objective. Or the Texans. I think, honestly, the Texans is where my money would be.
So here's my thought process, right? The Jets play a much tougher division than the other three, or the other two that you mentioned. I can't think of anybody else who would really be. Maybe the Eagles could potentially be there, but I don't think they'll be the worst. So the Jets play a tougher division, but I think I think they're better than those other two teams. So I'm not going to pick them. The Falcons still have Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts.
It's mostly some of their own line minus Alex Mack,
Deion Jones, Grady Jarrett. Like, they still have some pieces. They got Arthur Smith, new head coach. He obviously wants to win. So I'm not going to pick them. So I'm going to pick the Texans.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, maybe it's a cop-out answer. Who did I think I picked the Jags last year to be the worst team. Or it was I think we picked the Jags and the Jets, and they both won one game. So we were basically right.
Let's see if I can pull up the PDF. I forgot who the heck I picked.
I think I picked Jags. You picked the Jets, and like,
hey, we're both right in a way.
Yeah, both right. They both.
It's just tiebreaker. I think ended up being the.
Yeah, and at that point, draft pick. Like, I don't really consider that tiebreaker for. Actually, did the Jets win 2? They might have won two. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm gonna go the Texans.
I picked the Jets. You picked the Jags. So. Hey, we're both right on defensive rookie. Actually, this is fun to go back. Okay, so I'm just go back real quick. So MVP, I picked Tom Brady. We picked Dak. We were both wrong. Yeah. It was Aaron Rodgers. That's on me. That's more egg on my face. Defensive player of the year, I picked Aaron Donald. You picked TJ Watt. I mean, some would say you were right too. So we did good on there. Oh, we didn't look up offensive rookie of the year, but we were right on defensive rookie of the year.
I think I picked Jonathan Taylor.
It was Justin. Sorry. I have that. Sorry, we just said it was Justin Herbert. But you picked Jonathan Taylor. I picked Joe Burrow, which it was looking like Joe Burrow until he got hurt. And it was Justin Herbert that won. So we were both wrong. But we both were right on Chase Young. And then John was technically more right on the Jags since they got you were right because the Jags have 1, Jets had 2 points. So Yeah, I forgot about that. So that was fun to look back on that.
The
According to
Jags
last
were
year.
like they were tanking though. Like the Jets were trying to win games. I mean, they
Yeah.
beat the Browns, right? They beat the Browns and the Rams.
Who
That was
the
crazy.
the Jags? Oh,
No,
the
the
Jets.
Jets. The
Yeah.
two teams they beat were the Browns and the
Oh,
Rams,
then
which is
they
crazy.
almost beat remember they almost beat the
The
Raiders too.
Raiders.
And then they did that
Yeah,
weird thing.
that was terrible. Yeah, and then the defensive coordinator got fired right after that.
But
Anyway, I'm gonna pick the Texans. I think they're gonna be the worst team.
okay.
I don't like the coaching hire. Tyrod Taylor, there's only so much he can do. Offensive line still sucks, even though they traded all the draft picks for Laramie Tunsil. Who knows what the running game's going to look like? Brandon Cooks is really the only good offensive weapon. Although they had traded for that one Bears receiver, who I'm blanking on his name now. Not
Anthony
not
Miller.
Darnell Mooney. Yeah, Anthony Miller. He could have maybe a decent season. And then defensively, they lost J.J. Watt.
I think Whitney
I don't know.
Merciless is gonna miss time too, and he's already like been on the decline.
Yeah, and their defense is already
And
pretty
they
bad
lost
last
Bernard Drake
year.
McKinney.
It's yeah, Texans are gonna be the worst.
Yeah, it's rough. But all right. So that's our season predictions. And
Who did you say was gonna be the worst?
I'm saying Texans.
Oh, okay.
That's why I thought it through. It's Texans, but Falcons. Yeah, I'm with you. They're going to try to win games, and then Jets. I think they're going to want to try to win games. And as long as Zach Wilson's healthy, he might help them win a game or two himself. So
Also, I'm not saying this is the case, but like the Texans, they're so bad roster wise that like maybe they'd want to lose to just get the number one pick, get a quarterback, trade Watson,
and they trade Watson to get more picks, and then they can just
They
start
can
building
sort
with
of-
the way Nick Caserio and David Culley want to build post
They
Deshaun
can
Watson era.
replenish the assets that were lost during the Bill O'Brien.
And then,
era.
man, he had to start over. Poor Texan fans, man. You think you had something, and it all just fell apart so quickly. We've seen it happen in the NFL. But so that is it. That is our season predictions. It was fun. I got to remember to do this next year to pull up our previous season predictions and to see what how wrong we were or right we were, because we were actually pretty right award wise.
Well, some of them.
Some of them. I mean, MVP. It's
MVP, like I don't even think Dak and Tom Brady were in the Dak for sure wasn't.
No, but he got
Dead.
hurt too. So I mean that happens. But I mean we were pretty good on the others. We're really close on the worst teams. Like we may not be great at picking these playoff teams, but let me tell you what, we know how to pick the worst teams.
We know who sucks.
And yeah, I mean really last year besides the playoffs, I mean we both had besides the 49ers and Dallas, we were pretty much on it. I had the
Broncos,
Eagles.
I think,
Oh
making
my
it.
god, I had the Eagles.
Ah,
That all fell apart. But yeah, it's always fun to look at those. So we'll have to remember to do that either next season or at the end of this season, like when the season's totally over, like after the Super Bowl. Let's look back, see how right or wrong we were.
yeah.
But so that's the pod for today. For those that did come out to the stream, thank you very much for attending. And just as usual, like, comment, subscribe, show the support. It's all free. Whether it's YouTube or Instagram, which is at Chup and Ball Pod. Like John mentioned, we've been pushing out some TikToks. At Chup and Ball is the handle there. Same handle for Twitter. And then we have a Facebook page. And obviously, our podcast is available on all major podcast networks, Apple, Spotify, etc. Just FYI, people, Apple is our old logo. I'm trying to figure out how to change the logo, but Apple's weird with my podcast, wherever I upload the podcast from. So I'm figuring that out. So if there's any confusion there, that's why. But we'll be back next episode for our week 1 spread picks. I'll give it to John with regards to schedule that. If not, we'll just release like a small video or something, or like on our Instagram saying what our pick is in the spread. If we can't get the video out before kickoff on Thursday. But otherwise, hope everyone has a nice day. If you're still drafting, hoping your drafts are going well. We had the Dynasty draft the other night. Really fun. I got 2 tonight for both money leagues I got to do. And I got the number 1 pick, and one for the first time ever in my 10 years playing, have a top 4 pick, and it's the number 1 pick. I'm so happy. And
taking?
they might do keepers. I'm going to do, especially if it's keepers, I'm going to do CMC. Just lock it in, keep it. Derrick Henry is a thought just because he has a higher floor, I feel like, running-wise, but CMC, not as, a little bit lower of a floor, but a way higher of a ceiling just because it's PPR and he's CMC, and they may be losing some games, who knows, and it's Sam Darnold, he may be checking down a bunch, so going with CMC for now. But that'll be fun. So once again, we're getting thunderstorms here. We're going to call it there. Everyone have a nice night. Have a nice week. Enjoy your Labor Day.